This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
TradeFlow Capital Management celebrates 5 years of strong returns and SME success. To find out more, please visit www.tradeflow.capital.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets.
Kazakhstan ramped up oil exports, bypassing Russia in the first quarter of 2023 as it seeks to reduce its dependency on its vast neighbor, data from industry sources and Refinitiv showed. While Kazakh oil exports through the Caspian Sea and the Caucasus are relatively small, they have risen sharply since Moscow began what it calls a special military operation in Ukraine in February last year. Kazakhstan, which has the longest land border with Russia of any former Soviet state, has been treading a delicate line to reduce dependence on Russia without alienating its neighbor.
Oil prices edged higher on Friday on strong economic data in the Eurozone and Britain, but futures fell for the week as interest rate and demand uncertainty weighed. Brent futures settled up 56 cents at $81.66 per barrel. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude, WTI, rose 50 cents to $77.87 per barrel. Brent posted a weekly loss of 5.4%, while WTI fell 5.6%. Both crude benchmarks slid by more than 2% on Thursday, to their lowest since the unexpected announcement in early April of production cuts by some OPEC countries, on recession fears and swelling U.S. gasoline inventories.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
Russian President Vladimir Putin discussed the OPEC Plus deal to cap oil production with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, in a telephone call on Friday, the Kremlin said. The two expressed satisfaction with the level of cooperation between the two countries to bring stability to the global oil market, the Kremlin said in a readout of the call. Putin and the Crown Prince, who is widely known as MBS, have also forged close business relations. The conversation proceeded in a friendly manner, was constructive and informative. With this in mind, it was agreed to build up contacts in specific areas of cooperation, the Kremlin said.
Indian refiners' crude oil processing stayed near record peaks in March, provisional government data showed on Friday, catering to solid seasonal demand in the world's third biggest oil consumer. Refinery throughput gained 3% to 5.44 million barrels per day, 23 million tons, year-on-year for March. Throughput stood at 5.46 million barrels of oil per day, 20.85 million tons, in February. Crude oil processed in tons was the highest since Reuters records going back to 2009. Crude processed in million BPD terms, taking into account the fewer days in February, was also the highest since Reuters records going back to 2009. In March, India's fuel consumption hit a record high. Next, we have the top news in metal markets. Sluggish economic growth and demand in top consumer China is expected to sustain the headwinds facing copper demand and prices that have struggled to maintain the momentum of earlier this year. Benchmark copper on the London Metal Exchange, LME, hit a 7-month high of $9,550.50 a ton in January after China removed its strict COVID curbs, but prices of the metal used in power and construction have since retreated to less than $9,000 a ton. The bullish scenario that markets appeared to be pricing in during early January is looking increasingly less likely to materialize, with Chinese indicators pointing to a mixed recovery, said Macquarie analyst Alice Fox.
China's exports of lithium hydroxide in the first quarter surged 72% from a year ago, customs data showed on Friday, underpinned by strong overseas demand for battery raw materials and falling prices. The world's top producer and exporter of the battery metal shipped out 30,206 tons in the first 3 months of 2023, up from 17,559 tons exported during the same period in 2022. In March, exports rose 77% from a year earlier to 10,235 tons. Total export value in March was $591.7 million, according to customs data, or an average of $57,813 a ton, which is higher than the spot local market prices.
We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector.
A drop in prices due to abundant local supplies is making Brazil an attractive origin for soybeans, with at least 2 vessels carrying a combined 79,150 tons of Brazilian product heading to the US in the next few days, according to shipping data. The CS Satara, chartered by the Andersons, is expected to set sail on April 30th carrying 33,000 tons of Brazilian soybeans from the port of Santarém to the US, shipping data from CargoNave showed on Thursday. A bigger cargo of 46,150 tons will be shipped by Charter Bunge Limited from the port of Itacoaixara on April 25th, according to the data. That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.